What's up, YouTube? Any mention that I make of jw.org, Jehovah's Witnesses, their digital, online, or printed materials is done under the Copyright Disclaimer Copyright Act of 1976 for fair use for purposes such as criticism, news reporting, and teaching, research too, etc., etc. Peace. What's up, everybody? I wanted to talk about the Australian Royal Commission. So by now it's on the verge of being, 3 years old? The first part of it. So they talked to JWs, as I understand it, scoured and combed through doctrine and procedure, and that was in the summer of 2015. And then they gave them a certain amount of time to make changes. And I think that time was up in 2017. And not much changed. Not much by way of how they handled abuse. We've seen a video where they doubled down on the two-witness rule. For my part and my 2 cents worth of opinion, I think we do complain a lot. They say the apostates have a huge problem, which is true. Apostates do have a huge problem with the two-witness rule. I have a problem with the word apostate. That's another video, but anyway, we're all in this together, and we have a common goal to expose the holes and high-level control of the cult and cult-like behaviors of JW. So let me get on with it. What is my complaint? We say that the two-witness rule is kind of like the crux of the issue or the problem of why pedophiles get away with committing their crimes. And they can use the congregation and the organization as a safe haven to be repeaters and to not face secular courts. And again, the question is raised, if Satan is in charge of the secular courts, why is he punishing people who rape and steal and murder? Satan should be for that, right? Because he's a god of lies and chaos, and he wants the opposite of what the God of the Christian Bible wants. So why wouldn't Satan be more lenient to crime breakers?
Lawbreakers.
There may be another hole in JW doctrine right there. Okay, so the two-witness rule is ridiculous and bogus, but it's sort of, in my opinion, the wrong tree to bark up and at. Because let's say Jehovah's Witnesses got rid of the two-witness rule. A person would say they were assaulted. Woman, child, man, doesn't matter. The rule would be applied the same way, is what I'm saying when I say it doesn't matter. But sadly, it's women and children who are suffering the most, and they need to be helped. So we do away with two-witness rule, and a person reports a complaint. They no longer need a witness along with themselves. So I'm assaulted. I was there with Joe Schmo. He saw it happen. We're two witnesses to Brother Dirty, who's been touching kids. Now, as it stands, once you have that established, the elders in their ineptness will go to their bullet points. They will call the branch first in the land that they live in, whatever branch that might be, instead of first calling the police, blah, blah, blah. And a 3-man or more elder committee, i.e., kangaroo court, will be formed, and this judicial committee of ignorance will try to sort out this very delicate, harm-inducing, mentally and emotionally scarring situation. So these men with no training whatsoever, well, I shouldn't say no training. Their training is to protect the organization because it's a company. But they have no training in psychology and sexual crime sensitivity. There's a show, right? Law and Order SVU. These are police officers and lawyers and counselors who've done this stuff for decades, because some of that show is based on true stories. But anyway, my point is these men don't know a thing, and they're dealing with this terrible crime, and they have no training. Now, that's what would happen with the 2-witness rule. 2 people see the pedophile in action. Both people support the same story. JW Kangaroo Court of 3 elders form a judicial committee. That committee investigates this allegation. If you get rid of the 2-witness rule, 1 person says, I'm assaulted. 3 elders form a judicial committee, again, a kangaroo court of ignorance, to investigate the situation. They don't need another 1 or 2 witnesses. It's just 1 witness now, 1 victim. Their own story carries enough weight for the elders in the congregation to deal with this person. That's why I don't feel like wasting our breath over the 2-witness rule change is the right thing for us to be using our breath and voice for. Because even if you change the 2-witness rule, they're not calling the authorities. That's the point. If you call the authorities, a person is marked by the law. They're investigated by the law. They go on a registry by the law. The community at large is protected now because this sick, harmful person is being put through counseling. They can only live in certain places. Their name is on a list that's made public. Changing the 2-witness rule will do none of that, because whether you change it or not, this person is not being dealt with by trained professionals. They go on no registry. They just get handled in a JW fashion of guilty or not guilty. They can still be reproved or dissociated themselves or disfellowship, and then they can one day say, oh, I want to go back to JW, and they go right back in a congregation with children, vulnerable women, not because women are vulnerable, but because men do try to prey on women when they are dealing with stressful situations. Those can make you vulnerable, man or female, male or female, so man or woman. So for me, I hear the argument for it. Changing it, the 2-witness rule, I just don't think it's a strong enough change to affect change in JW culture as far as how they deal with pedophiles. We need for secular authorities to rush in. Changing the 2-witness rule will not bring that Calvary. It just won't. So we shouldn't even sweat it, because pedophiles still get away whether there are one or two witnesses, as long as you're not calling the police and social services and making children's hospitals aware of what happened to this child or these children. So we shouldn't be sweating changing the two witness rule, in my opinion. But people will do it, and if they need me there to like throw a pie at someone or hold a sign, call me. I'm down. The other thing I wanted to talk about is Geoffrey Jackson at the Royal Commission meeting, which was, again, a trial of sorts and an examination, a very thorough examination of JW doctrine and policy, especially with regard to how they treat women and deal with sex abuse in their organization, seeing as how many lawyers and prosecutors, judges included, are finding that JW, Jehovah's Witnesses, are worse at this and about this than the Catholic Church, which is like saying the head of a needle puts out more heat than the sun itself. That's how small JW is in comparison to the Catholic Church, and they have a worse problem with pedophiles. That's nuts. No pun intended. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I know witnesses who think they understand the two witness rule, and they proudly stand by it. And before I even mentioned it to them, they were ignorant that it even existed. So, in this trial, this examination, they caught Geoffrey Jackson. I think he was visiting his dad or something in Australia, because I know the governing body was refusing to show their faces in this court and be questioned. So poor Geoffrey Jackson got caught up visiting the motherland in Australia, his motherland, and they put him on the stand. So I want to, 1 Peter 3:15 is a scripture that relates to this, because as a JW from birth to like 37 or 38, 1 Peter 3:15 tells you that you have to be like, whether awakened from your sleep or in the middle of a picnic or riding your bike or watching birthday treats get handed out, be ready to make a defense for your faith and what you believe. So you gotta be ready. The drop of a dime or a hat or a tap on the shoulder, you gotta be ready. So you gotta be ready to defend your faith to whomever. There were so many talks and like circuit overseer stories where like, this brother rang the doorbell of a Catholic priest who has studied at all these super Bible colleges and he could defend his faith. Or these friends went before this mighty judge with a scepter who could pulverize you if you gave the wrong answer, but they stood up. So my point is, they ingraining you to be ready to defend your faith, no matter who asks, why they ask, where you are, no matter your age. If you love Jehovah, you can do this, blah, blah, blah. 1 Peter 3:15. I had to look down. So the point is, Geoffrey Jackson gets caught in Australia and they haul him in And they clean his glasses off and they sit him down and they start asking him questions. And one of the questions is, do you feel that your people are God's mouthpiece here on earth? And Geoffrey Jackson, I'll attach the video to this video, give a little segment. He says, I feel it would be presumptuous to say that we are the only spokesman God is using here on earth. And I was like, no, I wasn't like that. I was shocked. I was like, you're not doing what Peter said. Where's your defense? This is a international stage. Stand up for what you believe. Say yes to this question. No, the dude shrinks back and he's like, no, it's presumptuous to assume we're here representing God, or at least we're the only ones. I won't say we're the only ones. Now let's just take that for face value. So if I hear that, he's saying definitely that he doesn't want to assume or be presumptuous to say that they're the only mouthpiece of God here on earth, the only spokesman for the Almighty. Then I have a couple questions. Who else is talking for God around the world? And how do I sift through all you yahoos to figure out who has the right answer so that I can join you and live a life pleasing to God? He really just sat there and said it would be presumptuous to say that we're God's only spokesman here on earth. Where this is very bad is the fact that people have died making a stance and answering that question, literally been put before firing squads, literally choked in gas chambers, literally shot and killed, tortured to death because they say, yes, we stand loyal to JW and its God, Jehovah, and this is the only way a person should live. This dude gets in front of them and says, well, I don't want to be presumptuous about if, come on now. And our parents, our brothers, our sisters, our cousins, aunts, uncles, they just follow him blindly, just like he said that. There's a reason why he said it. That's probably what we should all be saying. But it is also hypocritical, and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit, whether they're real or not, they don't deal in hypocrisy, right? So anyway, that's my gripe, is that Geoffrey Jackson was a sucker and a coward, and they teach us to go fight tooth and nail. They taught me to do that. And no matter what the stage, to just stay firm and rep for jw.org. But then when they have a chance to do it, I don't want to get, come on now, fellas, ridiculous, So just another little, and this is old news, you know what I'm saying? I just wanted to make sure I said something about it because it's profound. I feel like it is. If I'm making a list of 10 things that says JWs should be left in the minimum questioned, this is on that list. Geoffrey's not point blank stating, yes, we are God's mouthpiece and representative in the world today until the new world is ushered in. So To conclude, we will consider a passage from Thy Kingdom Come with Thy Nonsense and Forgotten Light, the 1908 edition. I'll go to a random page. Oh, let's see what we have here. This is the same page we read from last video. I'll do it again. All right. What do we have? What do we have? Okay, let's see. All right, page 80. Paragraph. It's unmarked, no numbers. After the downfall of the Western Roman Empire, the political influence of the popes in Italy became of still more importance, from the fact that popes had to take under severe protection the unfortunate country, but particularly Rome and its environs, which were so often changing matters and continually exposed to the invasions of coarse and brutal conquerors. While the successors of St. Peter were so energetically interesting themselves in the welfare of the inhabitants of Italy, the latter were totally neglected by the Eastern Roman empires and emperors who still laid claim to rule the land. Even after Justinian I had reconquered a part of the lot and converted it into a Grecian province, the lot and its inhabitants was no better, for the Byzantine emperors could only exhaust by taxation the subjects of the Exarchate and Ravenna, but in no way could they afford her the necessary protection. So they lost something, they fought, they got it back, yada yada yada. It all ends up being, in the end of this chapter, something that ties into a Messiah prophecy that Daniel brought up, which says, Daniel's question as to what would occur to God's holy ones after their power or truth would be released from papal crushing after 1799 and before the setting up of the kingdom of the Messiah through Michael. The reply in substance is that Daniel need not hope to understand further, but that in 30 years after the beginning of the time of the end, a purifying, cleansing, refining work would begin among the holy people, in connection with which an understanding of the prophecy would be granted to the wise among this tried, cleansed, separated class. So even in 1908, they're already ingraining into people, like dripping into your mind, the fact that Daniel even saw visions and had questions that he should not hope to understand further. Leave that to the holy people who have been refined and cleansed and purified. These wise ones have been tried and cleansed, and they're in a separated class. They will explain all of this to you. So for what, 106 years, this is what people have been believing, and they don't critically think, and they leave it to someone else to explain to them how they should love God and what they should sacrifice in their love for God, and tell them that they should die, and then when they get a chance to represent for themselves, like Geoffrey Jackson, they get cowardice and they want to get in their first class plane seat and fly back to Warwick and live in their mansion that was built on the backs of the people that they're telling them, should you get questioned or put to task about what you believe, die for it. But I'm not, because that would be presumptuous. Peace.
And do you see yourselves as Jehovah God's spokespeople on earth?
That, I think, would seem to be quite presumptuous to say that we are the only spokesperson that God is using.
This reminds us that this organization does not belong to any man. No human is putting it together. No human is moving it along. It is Jehovah God himself.